What if I told you that the market isn't your real enemy, that the charts, the candlesticks, the headlines, they're just the stage? The true battle isn't out there on the screen, it's inside of you. Every time you click buy or sell, there's a shadow at your back, a whisper that tells you to hold a loser just a little longer, a push that makes you close a winner too soon, a surge of anger that drives you into revenge trading. This is not the strategy you studied. This is the anti-strategy, the hidden saboteur that lives within every trader. Welcome to Trading Psychology Stick, where we dive deep into the mind of the trader. Before we continue, remember that trading involves substantial risk, and this content is for educational purposes only. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Now, are you ready to confront your shadow? Imagine stepping onto a battlefield. You've got armor, a sharpened blade, the best training money can buy. You face the enemy across the field, but then an arrow strikes you from behind. You spin around, shocked. It wasn't the market that struck you, it was your own shadow. Traders lose not because their system is weak, but because the shadow inside betrays them at the crucial moment. Think about the last time you overtraded after a loss, chasing the market as if anger could erase pain. That wasn't bad luck. That was your anti-strategy pulling the strings. Quick question for you right now. Can you remember your last trade where you completely ignored your own rules? Don't judge yourself. Just acknowledge it. Because recognition is the first step to transformation. But here's what separates the traders who survive from those who burn out. They learn to see this shadow clearly. And by the end of this deep dive, you'll never look at your own decisions the same way again. Section 1. Defining the invisible enemy. Step into your trading room. You've got your charts neatly arranged, your indicators calibrated, your plan written down. On the surface, it looks like discipline. But then something happens. A sudden candle drop jolts you, and without hesitation, you hit the buy button to average down. For a moment, you convince yourself this is the smart move. Yet deep down, you know, this wasn't part of the plan. This was the whisper of anti-strategy. Here's what most trading educators won't tell you. Anti-strategy is not an official system you design. It's the unofficial one you live out when emotions take the wheel. It's the unspoken rules you follow in panic, boredom, or overconfidence. Let me give you some real data. A comprehensive study analyzing over 28 million trades from 81,000 retail traders found something shocking. These traders were actually correct in predicting market direction more than 50% of the time. Their analysis wasn't broken, but they still lost money. Why? Because they cut their winners at an average of 40 pips profit, while letting their losers run to minus 75 pips on average. That's anti-strategy in action. It thrives on impulsive entries, revenge trades after a loss, doubling down when you shouldn't, closing winners before they've barely begun to run. These actions feel rational in the heat of the moment, but they are not your strategy. They are its shadow. Why is anti-strategy so dangerous? Because it doesn't announce itself as sabotage. It arrives disguised as urgency, as intuition, as gut feel. It makes you believe that breaking your plan is flexibility, that abandoning your edge is adaptation. Quick reflection for you. In your last week of trading, how many times did you act on impulse versus your actual plan? Just make a mental note of that ratio. We'll come back to it. The moment you recognize anti-strategy is the moment you can begin to defeat it. Once you name it, you can spot its patterns. That flash of urgency before you click. That inner justification when you bend a rule. These are its fingerprints. But naming the enemy isn't enough. You need weapons to fight it. And that's exactly where we're going next. Building your fortress against the shadow. A trader without defenses is like a soldier walking into battle without armor. You might have the sharpest sword, a tested strategy, powerful indicators, deep market understanding. But without a fortress to protect you, one arrow from your shadow can end the war. Building your fortress isn't about fighting the market harder. It's about designing structures that shield you from your worst impulses and automate your best decisions. Let me give you the exact blueprint. The first wall of your fortress must be non-negotiable rules, not suggestions, not guidelines. Rules carved in stone that you follow regardless of how you feel in the moment. Maximum daily loss rule. Pick a number, whether it's 1% of your account, 2%, whatever you can lose without it affecting your sleep or your next day's decision-making. When you hit that number, you stop trading. No exceptions. No, just one more trade to get even. You're done for the day. Risk per trade rule. Never risk more than a predetermined percentage of your account on any single trade. Most professional traders risk between 0.5% and 2%. When you automate this decision, you remove emotion from position sizing. Pre-trade checklist rule. Before you place any trade, you must complete a checklist. Is this set up in my plan? Is my risk defined? Am I emotionally calm? Is my stop loss set? If any box is unchecked, you don't trade. These rules aren't there to restrict you. They're there to liberate you. Every rule you automate is one less decision your emotions can hijack. Here's your immediate action step. Right now, before you continue watching, write down your maximum daily loss amount. Make it concrete. Not later. Right now. Because the moment you define this boundary, you've built the first wall of your fortress. But rules alone aren't enough. You need psychological circuit breakers, mechanisms that snap you out of impulsive states before they destroy you. The most powerful is what I call the step-away rule. If you feel anger, euphoria, revenge, or panic rising, you step away from the screen immediately. Walk outside. Take 10 deep breaths. Stretch. Create physical distance between emotion and action. Paul Tudor Jones, one of the greatest traders alive, built his entire career on strict risk management rules. His fortress was simple but unbreakable. Never risk more than 1% to 2% of capital on any single trade, and always have a predetermined exit plan before entering. That single wall allowed him to survive market storms that destroyed other legendary traders. And here's the paradox every successful trader discovers. The stronger your fortress, the freer you become. With rules, checklists, and circuit breakers in place, you no longer wrestle with every decision. You're protected from your worst impulses and free to execute your best analysis. Now that you have immediate defenses, let me show you exactly how this shadow operates through the stories of legendary traders who learned the hard way. Section 3. When winning becomes the trap. Lessons from the legends. There's a cruel paradox in trading that most people never see coming. The most dangerous moment isn't when you're drowning in losses. It's when you're celebrating victory. Success, if not handled with discipline, becomes the very spark that lights your downfall. Jesse Livermore, the legendary speculator, made his fortune shorting the market during the 1929 crash. While the world collapsed around him, he earned what would be hundreds of millions in today's dollars. To any outsider, he had conquered the market, but success bred overconfidence. Each victory inflated his ego, and with each rise came reckless risk. Livermore went on to lose fortunes as easily as he had gained them, caught in cycles of triumph and self-destruction. He didn't lose because he couldn't trade. He lost because he couldn't master himself after winning. Here's a question that might sting. Think back to your biggest trading win ever. How did you feel immediately after? Invincible? Like you'd cracked some secret code? Now, what happened in your next few trades after that big win? Did you stay disciplined, or did you start taking bigger risks? Studies in behavioral finance confirm this pattern. Traders often take their greatest risks right after big wins, intoxicated by what psychologists call the illusion of control. The high of success blinds you just as much as the fear of failure. This is the trap many traders fall into. After a string of wins, discipline loosens. Rules start to feel unnecessary. That stop loss you once swore by becomes negotiable. That checklist you followed religiously gathers dust. Success whispers that you're different, that rules are for other people. But here's the brutal question every winning trader must face. What do you do after you win? Do you double down recklessly, convinced you're on a hot streak? Or do you pause, breathe, and remember that consistency, not one great trade, is the real measure of mastery? The market is patient. It will let you win for weeks, sometimes months, inflating your confidence until you believe you're invincible. Then it strikes. Not with bad analysis or unlucky timing, but by letting your own success destroy your discipline. Jesse Livermore's story is carved into trading history as a warning. If the man who outsmarted the Great Depression could still be undone by his anti-strategy, what makes any of us think we're immune? Take a moment right now. If you've been trading for more than 6 months, you know this feeling. That moment when winning starts to feel dangerous because you know what comes next. That's your shadow whispering that rules are for other people, not for winners like you. This brings us to an uncomfortable truth. To master trading, you must first identify your personal saboteurs, Those unique patterns that twist your logic and warp your decisions, even when you think you're being rational. Section 4. Unmasking your personal saboteurs. The market is a mirror. It doesn't just reflect price action, it reflects you. Every trade you take leaves behind fingerprints of your psychology, and if you dare to look closely, those prints reveal the exact shape of your shadow. This is where you begin the uncomfortable but liberating work of unmasking your saboteurs, not with theory, but with evidence, hard data from your own trading history. Your saboteurs are unique to you. Some traders crumble under boredom, unable to sit still through quiet markets. Others sabotage themselves in euphoria, chasing one win after another until greed devours them. Still others carry the weight of past losses into every new trade, seeking revenge against a market that doesn't even remember yesterday. Here's a practical exercise you can do right now. Pull up your trading history, your last 20 trades. Don't look at profit and loss yet. Look deeper. For each trade, ask these questions. What was I feeling before I placed this trade? Was it calm confidence based on my setup criteria, or was it fear of missing out on a moving market? Did I follow my position sizing rules exactly, or did I increase risk because the setup looked too good to pass up? Here's what one trader discovered when she did this exercise. Her trading log looked professional, clean entries, reasonable exits, documented setups. But when she added the emotional layer, a pattern emerged. Every time she felt restless during slow market periods, she forced trades outside her plan. Every time she felt anxious about missing moves, she chased price and entered too late. The numbers alone didn't reveal this, but honest self-reflection did. And once she saw it, she could no longer pretend the shadow wasn't there. Try this right now with just your most recent trade that didn't go according to plan. Not the outcome, focus on the process. What rule did you bend? What emotion drove that decision? What story did you tell yourself to justify it? Remember that study of 28 million trades? The researchers found that the average retail trader's worst enemy wasn't market volatility or news events. It was their own behavior during 3 specific emotional states: boredom, euphoria, and revenge seeking. Compare your planned trades to your actual trades over the past month. How many times did you enter too early? How often did you close too soon? How often did you size up impulsively? When you quantify the cost, you may discover that most of your losses weren't strategy failures. They were sabotage disguised as trading decisions. This is the turning point. When you stop blaming the market, the news, or bad luck, and realize that the patterns stealing your profits have been living inside your own decision-making process. Can you see the saboteur now in that trade you just analyzed? Can you identify which emotional trigger led you away from your plan? Because understanding what you do wrong is only the surface. We need to go deeper into why. But first, you need the most powerful weapon against impulse trading, the art of the pause. Let's pause here and take inventory. We've covered substantial ground, and I want to make sure you're absorbing this rather than just consuming it. We've seen that your real enemy isn't the market. It's the anti-strategy living in your own mind. We've built your fortress with non-negotiable rules and circuit breakers. We've learned that even winning can be dangerous if it breeds overconfidence. And we've begun identifying your personal saboteurs through honest self-reflection. Here's a gentle challenge while we catch our breath. Take that trade you just analyzed, the one where you broke your own rules. Instead of judging yourself for it, get curious about it. What was that mistake trying to teach you about your relationship with risk, with being wrong, with making money? Sometimes the most profitable thing you can do is nothing at all. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply see yourself clearly. That's what we're building toward. Ready? Let's give you the most practical tool for stopping impulse trades in real time. Section 5, the 10-minute rule, your emergency brake. In trading, destruction rarely comes from carefully considered decisions made in calm moments. It comes in the heat of battle, when your screen flashes red or green, and every cell in your body screams, act now or miss everything. The anti-strategy thrives on urgency, on tricking you into believing that speed equals survival. But what if the greatest edge you could develop wasn't faster execution or better analysis? What if it was the simple power of pause? Enter the 10-minute rule. When you feel the urge to act impulsively, whether to chase a breakout, revenge trade a loss, or close a winner too early, you wait. 10 minutes, no exceptions. 10 minutes might not sound significant, but it's enough time for adrenaline to fade, for emotional fog to lift, for your prefrontal cortex to come back online and override your amygdala's panic response. Picture this scenario. You've just taken a sharp loss on a setup you believed in. Rage surges through you. Your finger hovers over the mouse, ready to double position size and strike back at the market. But you've trained yourself in the 10-minute rule. You push back from your screen, set a timer, and pace the room. By the time the alarm rings, the chart looks different. The revenge trade you were about to take isn't a setup at all. It's chaos masquerading as opportunity. Without that pause, you would have lit your remaining capital on fire. With it, you preserved not just your account, but your discipline. The neuroscience supports this approach. When you're experiencing intense emotions, fear, anger, greed, your amygdala hijacks your decision-making process. Blood flow shifts away from your prefrontal cortex, the rational planning center, toward more primitive brain regions designed for immediate survival responses. 10 minutes is roughly how long it takes for this neurochemical storm to subside and for rational thinking to return. It's not weakness, it's applied neuroscience. And the rule applies to winning, too. You see green numbers piling up, your heart races, and suddenly you're tempted to leverage up because you feel invincible. The 10-minute rule interrupts that as well. By waiting, you create space to ask the crucial question: am I still trading my plan, or am I trading my emotion? Some traders resist this rule. They fear missing out. They fear losing momentum. But here's the irony. The market isn't going anywhere. There will always be another candle, another setup, another opportunity. What won't always be there is your capital, if you let urgency rule your decisions. Think of it as a circuit breaker in your trading system. When pressure builds and emotions overheat, the breaker trips, cutting power before the whole system burns down. The pause is your breaker. Here's your implementation strategy. Right now, set a timer on your phone for 10 minutes and label it emergency break. The next time you feel that surge of urgency to act impulsively, hit that timer. Don't negotiate with it. Don't make exceptions. Just wait. Missing one potentially good trade is completely survivable. Blowing up your account because you couldn't wait 10 minutes is not. Now that you have practical tools, let's understand the ancient forces that drive most of your trading decisions, often without you realizing it. Section 6, Fear and Greed, the Primal Puppeteers. Picture our ancestor standing at the mouth of his cave 50,000 years ago. In the distance, rustling in the bushes, his heart pounds, fear whispers, "Stay back, danger lurks there." But then he sees a herd of animals grazing nearby. Greed whispers, "Take the risk. There's enough meat to feed your family for weeks." These two voices kept our ancestors alive. They are carved into our DNA, passed down through hundreds of generations. And yet, in the modern battlefield of trading, they've become deadly puppeteers, pulling strings we barely notice until our account is empty. Fear is the hand that freezes you when your perfect setup appears. It's the hesitation that whispers, "What if I'm wrong this time?" It's the panic that makes you close a winning trade just as it's about to accelerate. Fear doesn't care about your edge or your rules. It cares only about keeping you safe from loss, safe from pain, safe from the possibility of regret. But in trying to shield you from small risks, fear robs you of large opportunities. It's the trader who spends months perfecting a strategy, but never places a trade because no setup looks guaranteed enough. Greed is the other hand, and it's no gentler. Greed seduces you into doubling position in size after one good trade, convinced you've unlocked some market secret. It pushes you to chase moves long after the smart money has exited, addicted to the rush of momentum. It tells you that rules are for cautious people, not for market geniuses like you. Here's the tragic irony. Many traders swing between these poles like a broken pendulum. Monday, you're paralyzed by fear, missing clear setups because nothing feels safe enough. Wednesday, you're intoxicated by greed, overtrading your way into danger. Think about your recent trades. That night you stayed awake until 3 a.m. staring at charts, terrified of missing the next big move. Was that really analysis, or was that fear disguised as diligence? That time you doubled your position size after a winner, chasing the dragon of euphoria. Was that strategy, or was that greed wearing the mask of opportunity? Here's what the research reveals. A study tracking eye movements of day traders found that losing traders spent 60% more time looking at their profit and loss numbers than at their charts. Their attention was captured by the fear of loss rather than focused on the information needed to make good decisions. Another study using brain imaging showed that when traders were ahead, the same neural pathways activated as in people using cocaine, literally. Greed triggers addiction-like responses that override rational planning and risk management. But here's the deeper truth. Fear and greed are not just emotions, they're information. Fear often signals that you're about to take a risk larger than you can emotionally handle. Greed often signals that you're chasing outcomes rather than following process. The most successful traders don't eliminate fear and greed. They learn to interpret them. When fear arises, they ask, is this telling me my position size is too large? Or is it warning me about a genuine risk I haven't considered? When greed whispers, they ask, is this excitement about a good opportunity? Or am I abandoning my plan because I'm chasing the high of winning? Right now, think about your last trade where you know you acted from fear. What was that fear actually telling you? And think about a trade where greed took over. What was that greed really seeking? More money or the emotional high of being right? Because behind fear and greed lie deeper scripts, fundamental beliefs about money, success, and self-worth that were programmed into you long before you ever opened a trading platform. Section 7. Learning from every battle, turning losses into intelligence. Every trade is a skirmish between your plan and your shadow. Some end in victory, others in defeat, but all leave behind evidence. The question that separates consistent winners from eternal strugglers is this: do you treat your completed trades like discarded lottery tickets, or do you mine them for the intelligence they contain? Most traders make a fatal error. They measure success solely by green and red numbers. They see profit and call it good. They see loss and call it bad. But profit and loss are only the surface layer. They tell you what happened, but not why it happened. Until you understand the why, you're doomed to repeat the same cycles forever. Let me show you what costs traders the most money. Remember that study of 28 million trades? The researchers didn't just look at win rates. They tracked something much more revealing: the difference between where traders planned to exit and where they actually exited. Here's what they found. When traders were winning, they closed positions an average of 43% earlier than their original plan indicated they should. When they were losing, they held positions 67% longer than their stop-loss rules suggested. This wasn't random. This was systematic sabotage. The study calculated that this behavioral pattern alone cost the average trader 3.8% of their account value per year. Not from bad analysis, not from unlucky timing, from blind spots in their own decision-making. Here's a challenge that might shock you. Take your last 20 trades and split them into 2 columns. In one column, list trades you followed exactly as planned: entry, position size, exit, everything. In the other, list trades where you broke even one rule, no matter how slightly. Now calculate the profit or loss of each column separately. I've seen this exercise performed by thousands of traders, and the result is almost always the same. The disciplined trades show profit or break even. The anti-strategy trades show consistent loss. But it's not just about numbers. Every mistake leaves behind emotional damage, shame, frustration, and diminishing confidence in your own ability. Over time, this compounds into hesitation, self-doubt, and fear of pulling the trigger on good setups. This is where structured post-trade analysis becomes your most powerful weapon for growth. After every single trade, regardless of outcome, ask these questions and write down the answers. Did I follow my entry criteria exactly? What emotion was dominant when I clicked the button? What did I tell myself while the trade was running? Did my exit match my plan? Or did fear or greed override my rules? Write it down with brutal honesty. Because a losing trade executed with perfect discipline may be your greatest victory, while a profitable trade born from impulse may be your most dangerous loss. You'll start to see patterns that no amount of chart study could reveal. Maybe every big loss traces back to trades taken when you were tired or stressed. Maybe every premature exit happens on mornings when you checked social media before trading. Maybe you oversize positions consistently after wins, chasing the emotional high rather than following your plan. The most disciplined traders treat post-trade analysis as sacred ritual. The moment a position closes isn't the end. It's the beginning of understanding. They don't just ask, did I make money? They ask, did I trade well? Did I honor my process? Did I resist my shadow? Or did I let it whisper me into compromise? Here's the transformation that happens when you build this habit. Bad trades stop destroying your confidence and start fueling your growth. Good trades stop inflating your ego and start confirming your process. You stop seeing trading as random battles and start seeing it as a systematic campaign where each engagement makes you stronger. Take a moment right now. Think about your last significant loss. Instead of asking why the market moved against you, ask why you managed the trade the way you did. What can that loss teach you about your decision-making process? Because here's what most traders never realize. Your shadow isn't just trying to destroy you. It's trying to teach you exactly where you need to grow stronger. Section 8. The invisible chains. Why your beliefs control your trades. If fear and greed are the puppeteers, then limiting beliefs are the strings they pull. These are not fleeting emotions that come and go. They are deep convictions carved into your subconscious, often decades before you ever considered trading. They're whispers from childhood, cultural messages absorbed without question, invisible chains that guide your hands without you knowing. Let me show you how this works. There's a certain type of trader who can analyze markets brilliantly, spot setups with precision, and even paper trade profitably for months. But the moment they risk real money, they sabotage themselves systematically. They'll cut winners at break-even and hold losers until they turn into disasters. When you dig deeper, you often find beliefs like, I don't deserve to be wealthy. Rich people are greedy, and I don't want to be greedy. Money corrupts people, and I'm a good person. These beliefs operate below conscious awareness, but they drive behavior with incredible power. Consider this real example. A professional trader grew up in a household where his parents constantly fought about money. The message he absorbed was that money causes pain and destroys relationships. As an adult trader, he found himself unconsciously sabotaging profitable trades because deep down, making money felt dangerous to his relationships. Or take the trader who grew up hearing money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work hard for every dollar. When trading profits came easily, they felt wrong, unearned. So, he would give them back to the market through overtrading or poor decisions, returning to the familiar struggle he believed money should require. Here's a belief that destroys more traders than any technical error. I have to be right. This often comes from childhood experiences where being wrong meant shame, punishment, or loss of love. In trading, this belief makes it impossible to cut losses quickly. Every losing trade becomes a referendum on your intelligence and worth as a person. The data supports this psychological insight. Behavioral finance researchers found that traders' willingness to hold losing positions correlated strongly with their childhood experiences around failure and criticism. Those who grew up in environments where mistakes were harshly punished held losers 73% longer on average than those from more forgiving backgrounds. Another destructive belief: markets are rigged against small traders. This creates a victim mentality where losses are always someone else's fault. It removes personal responsibility and makes improvement impossible. Take a moment right now and ask yourself these questions. Write down the first thoughts that come up without filtering them. What did your parents teach you about money? What does your culture say about wealth? Do you believe you deserve financial success? Do you believe trading profits are real wealth or just gambling winnings? Do you believe the markets are fair or designed to take your money? Some of your answers might surprise you. Some might reveal exactly why you sabotage yourself just as success seems within reach. Because the anti-strategy isn't random chaos. It's the faithful execution of beliefs you may not even know you hold. But here's the empowering truth. Beliefs are just thoughts you've practiced thinking until they feel true, and any thought that was learned can be unlearned and replaced. This is why you can't build lasting discipline on rotten psychological foundations. To defeat your anti-strategy permanently, you must rebuild the beliefs that fuel it, and that begins with a fundamental shift in how you relate to your shadow. Pause with me for a moment. We've been exploring some heavy psychological territory, and your mind needs time to process before we go deeper. We've discovered that your brain is running software designed for surviving on ancient plains, not thriving in modern markets. Fear and greed pull your strings like ancient puppeteers. Hidden beliefs about money and success sabotage you from the shadows. And every trade leaves behind intelligence that can make you stronger, if you're willing to extract it. But here's a lighter way to think about it. Your brain is like an overprotective parent who's still treating you like a 5-year-old even though you're grown up. It means well, but its advice isn't appropriate for your current situation. Before we continue, try this simple exercise. Take 3 deep breaths. On each exhale, just acknowledge one pattern you've recognized in your own trading. Don't judge it. Don't try to fix it. Just see it clearly. Recognition without judgment is the beginning of change. You're not broken for having these patterns. You're human. Every successful trader has learned to work with their psychology, not against it. Ready for the deeper transformation? Let's explore how to turn your shadow from enemy into teacher. Section 9, From Shadow to Strategy, Turning Enemy into Teacher. Up until now, we've treated your shadow like an assassin hiding in your trading room, waiting to strike at the worst moment. And in many ways, that's exactly what it is. But here's the paradox that advanced traders eventually discover. Your shadow isn't just trying to destroy you. It's trying to teach you. Every act of self-sabotage carries a message. Every mistake points to an area where you haven't yet built sufficient strength. The shadow doesn't show up randomly to torment you. It appears precisely where you need to develop greater skill. If you consistently overtrade when bored, your shadow is telling you you haven't learned patience. If you repeatedly cling to losing positions, it's saying you haven't made peace with being wrong. If you cut winners too early, the message is clear. You haven't built trust in your process. The sabotage is the signal. This insight separates traders who remain stuck from those who evolve. The stuck ones curse their shadow, deny it exists, or fight it endlessly like it's a foreign invader. The evolving ones study it. They ask, why did I break my rule today? What was I feeling? What belief drove that action? They don't see self-sabotage as personal failure. They see it as feedback from their subconscious about areas requiring development. This is what psychologists call integration. Carl Jung observed that we don't become whole by chasing perfection, but by embracing the parts of ourselves we've tried to disown. In trading terms, that means you don't banish fear, greed, or impatience. You acknowledge them, bring them into conscious awareness, and give them constructive roles. Fear can remind you to respect risk appropriately. Greed can fuel healthy ambition for growth. Impatience can signal when you need better structure in your routine. What once sabotaged, you can, with awareness, strengthen you. Here's a real example. Many successful traders will tell you their most important rules were written in the blood of their own losses. They didn't invent discipline from thin air. They forged it from the fire of their mistakes. The shadow taught them, brutally but effectively, exactly where they needed stronger defenses. One trader used to revenge trade after every loss, doubling position size in anger. Instead of just trying to stop this behavior, he studied it. He realized the revenge trading happened because he took losses as personal attacks on his intelligence. Once he understood that losing trades weren't about his worth as a person, but simply about probabilities playing out, the revenge pattern disappeared naturally. So here's the fundamental shift in perspective. Stop asking how to kill your anti-strategy. Start asking what your anti-strategy is trying to teach you. Every time you feel that pull to break a rule, pause and ask, what lesson is my shadow offering right now? Write it down, track it, turn it into new rules, refine processes, stronger walls in your psychological fortress. The shadow will always be there, that's guaranteed, but instead of striking you from behind, it can become the sparring partner that sharpens your skills. Think about your most consistent trading mistake, the one you keep promising to stop but somehow repeat. Instead of judging yourself for it, get curious about it. What is that pattern trying to tell you about your relationship with risk, with being wrong, with making money? When you begin this integration process, something remarkable happens. Trading stops feeling like a war against yourself and becomes a practice of self-mastery. Every battle becomes an opportunity to grow stronger. You're no longer a victim of sabotage. You're an apprentice of your own psychology. But this journey of growth isn't meant to be walked alone. Your shadow grows stronger in solitude and weaker in community. Section 10. The Power of Tribe, Allies Against the Shadow. Your shadow thrives in isolation. Alone in your room, staring at flickering screens, it's easy to believe every whisper it feeds you. Just one more trade won't hurt. You can make it back if you double up. No one will ever know you broke your rules. In silence, those voices sound like truth. But bring another person into the equation, and suddenly the shadow's lies lose their power. Accountability has a way of dissolving self-deception before it can destroy your account. This is why building a tribe is one of the most powerful tools a trader can develop. Not a crowd of random voices shouting predictions, but a carefully chosen circle of allies, mentors, accountability partners, communities who share one mission: sustainable growth through disciplined execution. When you trade in complete isolation, your shadow convinces you that rule breaking is just intelligent flexibility. But when you have to explain your decisions to someone else, excuses shrivel under the light of honest examination. Consider the famous turtle trader experiment from the 1980s. Richard Dennis and William Eckhart trained a group of ordinary people, many with no trading background, to follow a specific systematic approach. Some flourished and made fortunes. Others failed and washed out. What separated success from failure wasn't intelligence, background, or natural talent. It was discipline. Those who leaned on the collective support of the group, who allowed themselves to be held accountable by peers, consistently outperformed those who drifted into isolation. Even legendary traders understand this principle. Paul Tudor Jones speaks frequently about mentors who shaped his risk management philosophy during his early years. Ray Dalio built Bridgewater Associates on radical transparency, an extreme form of accountability where no decision goes unquestioned. Think about your own trading journey. How many times have you promised yourself, "I'll follow my rules this time," only to break them the next day? How often have you sworn to stop overtrading, only to slip back into the same destructive cycle within a week? Alone, your word to yourself carries emotional weight, but lacks external consequences. With a tribe, your commitments become weighted with social accountability. But accountability isn't the only benefit of tribe. Your allies can see patterns you can't. They can remind you that one loss doesn't define your abilities, that one win doesn't make you invincible. They can normalize the emotional ups and downs of trading, transforming isolation's echo chamber into a chorus of realistic perspective. In their presence, your shadow loses much of its grip, because it can no longer convince you that you're the only one struggling with discipline, fear, or greed. Here's your action step. Identify one person who could serve as an accountability partner for your trading. Share your trading rules with them and ask them to check in regularly about whether you're honoring those rules. This simple step will transform your relationship with discipline. But even with strong accountability systems, you need daily practices that anchor your mind before the first candle moves and steady your decision-making when volatility spikes. Section 11. The Mindful Trader. Daily Rituals of the Awakened Warrior. Every warrior has pre-battle rituals. Before facing combat, they sharpen their weapons, steady their breathing, and prepare their spirit for what's ahead. A trader must develop similar rituals, not from superstition, but from necessity. When markets open, you're not just facing charts and numbers. You're facing your own inner weather: fear, greed, boredom, impatience, overconfidence. If you step into that emotional storm unprepared, your shadow takes control before you place your first trade. Mindfulness becomes your armor, and it begins the moment you wake up, not when you open your trading platform. Before checking any charts, check yourself. What is the state of my mind today? Am I calm, anxious, restless, distracted, overconfident? Write it down in your journal. Name it specifically, because what you don't name controls you. What you name clearly, you can manage effectively. Breathing is a weapon too often overlooked. Slow, deliberate breathing activates your parasympathetic nervous system, bringing rational thinking back online after stress or excitement. Just 3 minutes of focused breathing before trading can mean the difference between acting from clarity versus reacting from chaos. Visualization serves as mental rehearsal. Before markets open, close your eyes and see yourself trading with complete discipline. Picture yourself waiting patiently for your setup, placing orders with calm confidence, sticking to your rules even when the market moves against you initially. Your mind rehearses what your body will repeat. Elite athletes use visualization religiously to improve performance under pressure. Traders should too. Even small habits carry significant power. Develop a consistent pre-market routine: light exercise, journaling, reviewing your trading plan out loud. These actions tell your brain that you're entering sacred space where process matters more than impulse. When rituals become automatic, they free you from having to make good decisions under pressure. They transform discipline from a struggle into muscle memory. The mindful trader also understands the necessity of breaks throughout the trading day. Your focus will wane, your stress will accumulate. Schedule breaks before your shadow forces you into mistakes. Here's some supporting evidence. Many professional trading firms now train their traders not just in technical analysis, but in meditation, breathing techniques, and stress management. They've discovered that edge doesn't just come from better indicators, it comes from better state management. Your daily ritual might look like this. Wake up and spend 5 minutes writing about your mental state. Do 10 minutes of focused breathing. Review your trading rules out loud. Visualize yourself following your plan perfectly. Then, and only then, open your charts. At market close, reverse the process. Review what went well and what needs improvement. Write about the emotions you experienced. Plan tomorrow's approach. This bookending creates clear boundaries between your trading self and the rest of your life. But rituals alone won't carry you through a lifetime of trading. This isn't a sprint toward quick profits. It's a marathon toward sustainable mastery. Section 12, The Long Game, When the Shadow Becomes Your Ally. Trading seduces with promises of quick transformation, the flash of green on your screen, the thrill of catching the perfect breakout. It feels like you've arrived. But traders whose names echo across decades understand a different truth. This is not a sprint toward riches. It's a marathon toward mastery that unfolds over years. Your shadow doesn't vanish when you have a good month or even a good year. It walks beside you, waiting patiently for the day you grow complacent, overconfident, or careless. The long game begins with accepting this reality and building systems that work with your psychology rather than against it. Long-term perspective fundamentally changes how you measure success. One trade doesn't define you. One week doesn't crown or condemn your abilities. The question shifts from, did I win today, to am I becoming the kind of trader who can win consistently over years? When you embrace this timeline, your shadow loses much of its leverage. The shadow feeds on urgency, on the illusion that every tick is life or death, that every opportunity might be your last. The long game reminds you there will always be another candle, another setup, another chance to apply your edge. Think about the legends who've survived multiple decades in markets. Paul Tudor Jones didn't build his reputation by swinging for glory every day. He survived by playing defense first, offense second. Warren Buffett built wealth not by chasing quick riches, but by compounding steadily, letting time do what impatience never could. Their secret wasn't superior intelligence or insider information. It was patience coupled with process. It was respect for the long arc of skill development. Your anti-strategy, however, thrives on short-term thinking. It tempts you to chase every price movement, to double position size after wins, to panic after losses. But as you commit to the marathon mindset, something shifts in your relationship with the shadow. It becomes less enemy and more teacher. Each whisper it offers points you toward areas needing development. Each temptation it presents becomes an opportunity to strengthen your discipline. The shadow doesn't disappear, but it can be integrated, transformed from saboteur into sparring partner. Here's the paradox that advanced traders eventually discover. Mastery doesn't come from erasing your shadow. It comes from learning to dance with it, from letting it remind you where you're vulnerable, where you need to grow, where your systems need reinforcement. Think about your trading journey so far. The mistakes that cost you the most money probably taught you the most valuable lessons about risk management, emotional control, or system development. Your shadow is teaching you, brutally but effectively, exactly what you needed to learn. So as you commit to the long game, remember this foundational truth. You're not here to conquer markets in a day. You're here to conquer yourself over a lifetime. You're here to transform fear into respect for risk, greed into healthy ambition, self-sabotage into self-awareness. Every trade, profitable or not, becomes another step on that path of development. Every encounter with your shadow becomes another chance to integrate its lessons rather than fight its existence. The real victory in trading isn't the money in your account, though financial success often follows naturally. The real victory is waking up each day knowing you can face market chaos and internal chaos while still choosing discipline over impulse. That transformation from reactive to responsive, from victim of your emotions to master of them, is what your shadow has been pointing you toward all along. The path beyond the shadow. You've walked through the entire battlefield now. You've seen your shadow for what it truly is, not just a force in the market, but a force within your own mind. You've traced its roots through ancient brain wiring and limiting beliefs. You've learned to build fortresses, practice the pause, and extract intelligence from every battle. Most importantly, you've discovered how to transform your shadow from enemy into teacher, from saboteur into guide. Now comes the question that separates those who remain spectators from those who become participants in their own growth. What will you do with this understanding? Because this isn't just educational content you've consumed, it's a mirror you've looked into. Somewhere in these words, you recognize yourself, the hesitation, the impulse, the overconfidence, the shame. Your shadow is no longer invisible. You've named it, studied it, understood its patterns. Once you've named something this clearly, you can no longer pretend it doesn't exist. The choice becomes yours. Ignore this awareness and repeat the same cycles. Or embrace it and step into a different relationship with trading. Here's where your real journey begins, and it starts with one simple commitment. Pick one tool from everything we've covered, just one. Maybe it's starting a complete trading journal that captures emotions alongside numbers. Maybe it's implementing the 10-minute rule before every impulsive decision. Maybe it's building your first non-negotiable rule and following it for 30 days straight. Whatever tool resonates most strongly, commit to it today. Not tomorrow after you finish organizing your setup. Not next week when you have more time. Today. Because discipline isn't built in theory or planning, it's built through daily action, one decision at a time. And don't attempt to walk this path in isolation. Find your tribe, even if it starts with one person. Share your struggles openly, ask for accountability. Speak your shadow patterns out loud to someone you trust. The moment your self-sabotage leaves the silence of your head and enters the light of conversation, it loses half its power over your decisions. Remember this foundational truth. Trading mastery isn't about eliminating mistakes or achieving perfection. It's about transforming your relationship with both success and failure. Every error you've made, every loss you've carried, becomes raw material for building stronger systems and deeper self-understanding. Your shadow doesn't have to remain your enemy forever. It can become your most valuable teacher if you're willing to listen to its lessons rather than just curse its existence. Here's my direct invitation to you. Commit to the long game starting right now. Stop chasing the jackpot trade that will solve all your problems and start building the trader you want to become 5 years from now. See each trading day as practice. See each battle with your shadow as training. If these words have struck something deep inside you, if you felt your shadow stir as we named it together, then don't let this understanding end here. Write in the comments below. What does your personal shadow look like? What's one pattern of self-sabotage you're ready to transform from enemy into teacher? Your vulnerability might be exactly what another trader needs to hear to begin their own transformation. Because when we speak our shadows into the light, we weaken their hold on us. When we face them together as a community, we discover we're not alone in this struggle. You've looked into the mirror. You've seen the enemy within. Now step forward, not as a victim of your anti-strategy, but as someone ready to integrate its lessons and transform its energy into fuel for growth. Your shadow is waiting. The question that remains is simple. Are you ready to stop running from it and start dancing with it? The choice, as always, is yours. But now you have the tools, the understanding, and the awareness to choose consciously rather than react unconsciously. Your trading and your life will never be the same.